this is
Today is October 11th, Sunday at 8 a.m. in the morning. This is the Board State episode 50. If you're not acquainted with the Board State, we are a weekly podcast where we review board games, news articles. See, we're just talking about board games in my head. We review news articles that deal directly with gaming for social good. My name is Jeffrey Vierra, aka Mr. V, and I'm joined with someone who's ready to be a drop trooper, apparently. Who are you, sir?
Jack.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, apparently the Empire wanted me to, attack, what was it, Cadia? So yeah, I packed all my stuff.
Wow. Oh, the Empire.
Yeah. We're retaking Cadia,
Wow. Imperial Guard. Okay. So we go through the week, me and Jack, and we find articles that stood up. We put it here for your consumption. The first article is going to be from swissinfo.ch.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Poland?
Yep. No.
CHs.
It's not Polish enough.
Is Czechoslovakia the same thing as Poland?
Okay, I don't know how many people you offend there, but you offended a whole.
Whoa! All right. How a Swiss computer game is teaching kids to defeat COVID-19, and this is related to Corona Quest. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
Honestly, we're gonna see games more like this, and not just from foreign companies, but whatever nation you or even whatever state or province you're living in right now, you're going to see more of these types of projects and types of games, especially as we have the blueprint of it being adopted in Poland. Ding! But basically, it really is going to become gaming in depth into education. Before coronavirus, we were seen as both tabletop gaming and video gaming as, well, it's not for the school. It's not for school districts. It's not really for education because your priorities are so different than our priorities. We're trying to teach the kids and whatsoever. But now with coronavirus happening, it really is just showcasing all the possibilities that we was locked away because of this whole social barrier they had towards gaming. And so we're going to see a lot more of these games, especially talking longer age groups, as we see the decline of the popular gaming as Fortnite and Call of Duty, as these age groups become more and more mature. After all, we saw a rise in indie gaming a couple of years back, and we're going to continue seeing this rise as pandemic is happening. Reason why you saw in the PlayStation conference and Xbox conference, they very heavily investing into indie games because that's going to be the new market. And one last thing, they had a whole section on the virus, and yes, this is a real thing. If you don't believe it, okay, that's your opinion. But this game is addressing that concern. And a lot of people don't realize it, but kids will often take what their parents see or take what they hear from the news or what their friends say or even social media and times that by 50, 100. So this could, by them, like really trying to say, hey, this is what's going on and try not to worry their peers and encourage them. It's really going to help not just us, but everyone in the long run.
Yeah. So this was an educational game launched by Canton Vaud in May for pupils between 4 to 16 years of age and has played 342,000 times globally and now exists in 11 languages. He introduced this to his 5-year-old son, and yeah, and it was a way for them to really kind of cope what was going on. And like you said, there's a built-in system, and online. So this is the card game that aims to defeat the Corona-19 virus. The virus lays out its cards with physical symptoms like cough, fever, fatigue, but also attacks with cards named fear, loneliness, and poverty. Players can beat them with disinfection, parent, nurse, friends, and other cards. So again, we're gamifying a systemic way of dealing with issues like fear, loneliness, and poverty, right? In a very fun and engaging way. This is awesome, dude. This is something we like to say over and over again. Is this is how you deal with issues. You put them into a gaming format that you can look at it objectively from high above, almost like an out-of-body experience, and then objectively look at it and then come together and find solutions. So good job to these guys. Do you know how much this is, Jack?
Mr. V, remember that meme we was talking about? Let's first discuss, do you have room?
Well, I mean, it's a video game, right? So that would be hard drive space. But
again,
I'm curious.
Do you have room? Because I know what I'm having all the time.
Got it.
I'm having 5 games.
Got it. Okay. Here. So they closed the article. Global appeal. Keeping immigrant families in mind, the game has been translated, as I mentioned, to the 11 different languages. The game was designed to help children and families in Canton Bod, but we are delighted that it can also help around Switzerland and around the world. So awesome. Again, this is how a Swiss computer game is teaching kids to defeat COVID-19, and I would say to cope with COVID-19 by swissinfo.ch. All right. Next article is by Wired.com. It's been some time since we did a Wired article. And this is mobile games can offer a pocket-sized path to healing. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
Honestly, this is going to be a huge debate going in the future because mobile gaming is gaming. It's not a separate branch of gaming like how we saw in the early days, tabletop versus video games. No, it's gaming, and we have to accept that. Number 2, we're going to have to see articles from both sides and determine for ourselves. So, for example, we often see articles through the hundreds talking about microtransactions and how they corrupt their mobile gaming and how it's really impacting. We don't see articles like this often, and I really highly encourage everyone to favorite this because just by people publishing articles like this really showcase the changing of tunes and really showcase how our perception of mobile gaming is also changing as we go on, and we become more understanding of mobile gaming has its problems, but it also has its gems, just like AAA gaming, just like indie gaming, and so on and so forth. And so one thing that I really liked about this article is that they're discussing that debate, which is mindful versus mindless gaming. Quote from the article, the more mindful game, the better sometimes. Braver man says the more the mind is engaged, the more successful the activity will be at distraction. Cooking fever require concentration and strategy. It was completely engaging and therefore effective if I wanted to reach the next stage. So we already have that whole complex thinking of game developers putting their hard work. We saw that with Limbo and so many other mobile gaming companies that is trying to make their products different and not as a cash grab. But we're gonna continue to have that debate, and this is one of those articles that we highlight not just the other side, but why is there a debate in the first place?
Yeah, So this article really talks about using games as a means of therapy, really, I think, when you distill it down, specifically mobile games. The article begins with, just someone that was in the hospital for a week due to sepsis and blood infection, and goes on to describe that this person was the sickest they've ever felt. And I mean, just going through excruciating pain and depression, and how games served as a bedside companion, for this person, and how games help lift their spirits. And we're not talking about games that were built specifically for therapy. We're talking about games like Cooking Fever, a mobile time management game, or Candy Crush. Just a really nice distraction, and a way to kind of step away for a little while and then come back, as this means of escapism. And then they also cite in this article, they go into some quotes by Andrea Bravern, a clinical professor and psychiatry at Thomas Jefferson University, on how games can help ease the mind positively, right?
Right.
Rather than take a bucket of Valiums, and then the article concludes, I think, with something really cool, which we haven't really mentioned in a while, is Animal Crossing. Where there's mindful versus mindless games, and I think that's something that's really something that I want to draw the listeners' attention to, where there's and I think both have a place in gaming. Mindless games is a game where you can kind of just jump in and kill stuff, or run around and race or whatever.
Call of Duty.
Sure, yeah. I mean, or whatever, Doom. Need for Speed, whatever type of game where you just kind of unconsciously playing, right? And then there's like you're sort of in like a daydream when you're playing these games, like you're not completely present. I would say that's kind of a mindless game. Whereas a mindful game, you are very present in every step of the game. Games like, and they cited here, Animal Crossing, where it's a very meditative game of giving and sharing. I think Animal Crossing will arguably be my game of the year, but we'll see. Cyberpunk's coming up next month on schedule.
Yeah.
So that's
No, I was gonna say, you want to tell the casters what you have been doing to me all this week?
No, not at all. It's fine. Okay. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that there's this whole mindful versus mindless games that they touch in this article.
One last thing to note is that games could actually start as mindless and become mindful, and vice versa. It could be mindful and go into mindless. For example, Swato for me was, at first, okay, you kill things, you learn about the story, and you could do other stuff, but mainly that's the main two things you wanted to do. But then it became mindful, as my choices, they allowed you to choose stuff, and then you had my first interactions with the guild system and how that was a thing, and I actually got involved with role playing because of that guild, the guilds that was in Swato. So that became a mindful game to me, even though it started because it was a mindless game.
And then if you could just speak to our audience who might not be familiar with what SWTOR is.
Yeah, it's Star Wars: The Old Republic. This was before Disney took over it, and it really started off with a bad rep because of just content-wise, but now it's becoming more and more popular because of the more content and the more options they have you doing and allow you to be more immersed in the world. And it all takes place before the films. Like,
So this is a online game?
yeah, it's an online game, MMORPG.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. Is it free now?
Yeah, it's actually free. In fact, like if you most of the content is actually payable.
For
Like
free.
for free. So they have like 7 story missions. So they or 8. 1, 2, yeah, 8 character missions and around 20 planet missions. And that's just like the bare minimum you could do.
Yeah.
And like be fulfilled. There's also like heroics and then guilds like I mentioned, stock exchange and stuff like that. There's a whole list of things that they added on that it's really becoming more and more immersive. For example, like because of squadrons, they're going to have a new pet for anybody who logs in on October 20th for, and it's based off of the squadron's fighters. They're also going to have like all pieces available for cartel market. That's the
Oh, I don't want to know this.
but they also for free players you have a ship, you could use that ship to play in their main games, or you could go into an actual multiplayer game. Well, it's kind of like squadrons but a little bit more dumbed down. They also have PvP war bosses events. Well, if you have a guild, for example, I'm a part of the Imperial side, so we often target a lot of Republic war bosses. And this is like Jedi Masters, 2 huge
Wow.
robots, and some of them is a real challenge to get to because um the AI applies difficulties on where you go. So, for example, if you're on a PvP setting, AI is going to be more bloodthirsty than on a PvE setting. But the potential is you'll get more rewards.
When you're saying PvP, you mean mode of play, right? You can play
Yeah,
PvP.
so there's a PvP arena, and then in the war, there's 2 different servers usually. There's the PvE and then PvP. If you go on PvP, you allow for other people from the other faction to interact with you. This could be talking with you, or attacking you, or just or assaulting your base. Assaulting your base doesn't happen that much anymore because
Cool. Thank you for that breakdown. I played a lot of Star Wars: Old Republic when it first came out. Man, how long ago was that? Like 8 years or something? A while
yeah,
ago, huh?
I've, I've
Yeah.
been
Wow.
I've been off and on it, like
Yeah.
every 3 months. Hey, I'm back. Yeah,
But even back then, I really enjoyed it. I played through the Republic and the Empire side. Made a bunch of different characters. But yeah, it was really really well done. I love the idea of having like your own ship, and like how like your ship is kind of like your, it's sort of like your base of operations, right? You can
yeah.
put all your stuff in there and things like that. But what really stood out for me, and this isn't the Swole Tour podcast, we'll take a minute just to talk about it. The coolest thing I thought that they had was how you use your followers to do quests. I thought that was a really really cool idea.
Not just that, but learn their stories and stuff like that
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah. Of course, of course. But mechanically, how, and I think a lot of games started using that after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like where you could, they would just kind of show up and you'd be like, okay, go do this quest, and you just send them out. Um, yeah, super awesome.
Oh, one last thing, even though this ain't the Soto podcast, if you subscribe for just 1 month, you will get all of the expansions that you miss.
Why are
So,
you telling us this?
so that's like 700 plus hours of content, and I know because I actually played through a lot of the expansions, and some of them are not good. I'm gonna give you that, but the amount of content you get, especially if you're returning or if you're a new player, you will be playing that game until Cyberpunk actually comes out.
beyond. We're almost a month away. Okay, all right. Let's jump out of this. Let's jump into our hyperspace warp here and get out of this tangent.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about mobile games can offer a pocket-sized path to healing, Jack, by Wire.com. All right, next article. Speaking of content, by thegamasutra.com. Why is game writing becoming popular for writers? Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
Honestly, we're gonna see more like this because as gaming becoming more and more popular and more huge, a lot more people is realizing the benefits it has. Writers before pandemic will often critique writers going into the gaming world. They seen it as not really as like a side job to do and not really as a main job to do. By going into I see your face. Okay, but
No, sorry.
no,
Stephen
no. But it really is just that a more opportunities are going to be open, and this is one of them. And we're going to see a huge influx of gaming jobs being pushed into the industry, whether that's for AAA gaming, indie devs, AR, tabletop. No matter what it is, we're going to see a huge as we get. For example, I think a couple weeks back we had like a mom making a board game for the very first time, and her story is not alone. We're going to see this. Reason why Gamer Sutra is pointing out several of these job openings are being filled, and once there was a need and a high demand, there is now being fulfilled because now people are being more willing to follow their dreams and follow their passions and take risks, especially now. So, if you're an up-and-coming writer, I encourage you to bookmark this. If not, then it's a casual read. It gives you some ideas of what is rating, and it will also give you some ideas to help you out in, for example, making an email for just as a business person. You need to write an email to your employees or to your subordinates. Boom. This is several good tips to how to make it a little bit more personal, but not using that tact.
Yeah. So Gamma Sutra is really good at writing like these how-to guides, right? So like the titles are normally like a question. So like, why is gaming becoming popular for writers? But then when you dig into the article, they give you the how to become, a popular gaming writer, for example. Yes. So if you think about what was happening, oh boy, let's see here. Mid 80s, I guess, with comics, where you were maybe early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you were getting a lot of like Irish writers and Scottish writers that were migrating to the comic space because it was a room for them to really express and go wild with their writing. Same thing with like the artists in the zine scene in like the 70s. They could, like Robert Crumb and people like that. They could pick a medium and just that had no barriers and go crazy with it. You're beginning to see this happen in video games. A lot of the indie scene now, they're using gaming as a medium to express all kinds of ideas, right? Like we just showed you, the last article previous to this, the article previous to that, or moreover, the article previous to that game about, coping with COVID. So we're seeing more and more writers coming to the gaming space, which is awesome, and I think they should be recognized. I'd love to see, Rogue Squadron, right, come up, and then, written by R.A. Salvatore or, whatever, like whoever, right? Like that would be such a good selling point, and be really cool for the game because you'd know that, this game was written by so-and-so, like the Cyberpunk game, right? That we talked about, the person that's actually doing the quests. What?
I propose one thing. Once Cyberpunk week comes out, all of the articles will be on that.
This week we're just going to be talking about Starbucks. So there's that. There is a wider canvas or text document for these writers to write in the gaming scene. The other thing is survival. So by picking, and I think you were kind of talking about this a little bit, but by picking an industry where it's exponentially growing day by day, month by month, year by year, it's just we're still going through tremendous growth. To put your efforts into that industry would be a good bet, and I think that's a really good idea for writers to do, is to start writing content for games. And like this Gamma Sutra article goes through, is like, if you're a writer, how do you do that, right? And it kind of follows the same. I'm no writer, but I would imagine this is the same methodology you would use for writing a novel or a book or a movie, right? Plot, characters, lore, some things to keep in mind for, pitch writing, how to sell your idea, know your genre, conflicts and states, speak the language of the gamers. Gamers should write. Game writers should be prepared to speak in a gamer's language and get familiar with the various structures game writing requires, right? So if you're writing a Call of Duty game, okay, I don't know why I'm saying Call of Duty, but I'll say Call of Duty. Call of Duty game, the content's going to be very, very different from a Star Wars game, right? Because you're dealing with kind of a different mindset in terms of gaming.
Yeah.
Word? Okay. Mm-hmm. So that is Why is Game Writing Becoming Popular for Writers by the Gamma Sutra folks. Next article. Woo! 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 Hold on. This is going to be a good one. Okay. Mobile Game Premier League wants to give boost to indigenous game developers by showcasing their games to its wide set of audience by businessinsider.in. Jack, this is your pick of the week. What is this article about?
Honestly, we're going to see more companies like this, and we're going to see more game developers coming from other places that is not from the States. Usually the States had not sort of a monopoly, but a majority of game developers who have came from the United States. Not anymore. We're seeing a huge margin of recently game developers coming from other places, like Australia, like Israel, like India, like Poland. Ding. But this is going to be one of the things that we really need to look out for, because this company is going to reinvest into not outside devs, but prioritizing into local devs. And so it's basically a win-win. That region of gaming grows, every place else grows, because now they're going to have more ideas coming out and more greater competition. And even though competition can be bad, competition overall is really good, because it really allows game developers and players to really understand, okay, what do I want from a game? Do I want it to be something about India, or do I want something to be a little bit more fantasy like D&D? So it really allows players and game developers more freedoms and more choice. And two things. Firstly, the idea of a company going into gaming and being like a one-stop shop is very tempting for corruption. What I mean by that is that you could have a place where they're not focusing on game developers or players, but only for the bottom line. EA! But, however, from all of the articles I've seen from this company, this is going to be the counter to that. And really, we're going to see more companies, because we're going to see them learning from the mistakes of the older AAA companies. So the last question was, what is your vision for MPL? We aim to become a one-stop shop platform for gamers and game developers. We already have 50 plus games on our app and have 15 gaming studios as our developer partners. We want to work with more and more indigenous game developers and give them a platform to showcase their great games to user base. The more the number of quality games, the more our users will have a great experience on the platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it for me. If I
Okay.
didn't tell you from MPL, then okay. But I recommend you just check it out.
Yeah. This is, I really don't know what else to add to this other than, I mean, this is kind of like India focused, but I mean, not really. This applies anywhere. Um, the market value of mobile gaming in India was estimated to reach 405 million by 2022. The number of phone gamers was anticipated to be 620 million by 2020, according to the forecast. And everybody has a mobile phone. But yeah, you said it. Quality is definitely an issue, and a key point to focus on, not just getting games out there, but trying as much as possible to make games of quality. Wow, man, this gaming stuff is, and what I was gonna say was, one thing I really appreciate about doing this show is I get so motivated by reviewing these articles. Like when I hear about what other people are doing, it keeps my fire lit. It's just like, wow, there's really good people out there fighting the good fight, doing the good deeds. So yeah, I just really appreciate doing this. But yeah, I really have, you covered it perfectly. I have nothing else to say about this. Great article. Mobile Premier League wants to give boost to indigenous game developers by showcasing their games to its wide set of audience. BusinessInsider.in. All right, we're now reaching the final article of the day, and I think if I had to pick an article that would be my favorite this week, this would be it. And this is an article that was discovered by Jack, and it is Playing Chess for Charity. RZA and the Jizza of the Wu-Tang Clan reflect on the science of the game and life. Whoa! They got chicken skin. Holy crap, Jack. What is this article about?
It's really about that, and basically them explaining those stories and how chess and, to a larger extent, gaming had helped them. And because of that, they really wanted to give back. And so they're going on Twitch streamers and they're basically playing these chess competitions with them, basically to raise funds for not just COVID, but for other stuff like poverty relief, homelessness, and just overall trying to help out and give back to what gaming did and has given them. So one thing to know about this article from the out of all of what it is, and it's a very much you should read, is that this one quote I have to say is really calling to me, which is the two will be playing against. Wait, where was it? Okay, I really forgot where it was. Oh, right here. So basically, it's talking about the two streamers they're going up against, and one of them is actually a grandmaster that was in the 99 or was a grandmaster since 1999. And so basically, they're not just only inviting streamers, but also inviting these like overall like commentators and esports level competitors in the chess world and bringing them to try and help and raise the charity events up. So basically a very good article to read, especially to understand what gaming is going to go into. It's no longer going to just be, oh, let's sell DLC, let's sell microtransactions, let's sell season pass. It's going to be, okay, let's do this because all players sell this, or the players, let's do this because it really helped us a lot in our lives. So yeah. I purposely try to say little because I know you're going to say a lot.
No, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. What do we unpack from this? First of all, I've known that Wu-Tang / RZA, he is big time chess players. Right? I've heard it time and time again that he like plays chess every day, and it's an integral part of his life and his mindset, and yeah, so he's no stranger to chess. And going through this article, what was that quote? I remember. Yeah, here we go. There was this whole thing. Okay, so yeah, here we are. So the Wu-Tang Clan has been involved in charitable works for decades and even sold hand sanitizer for Ottawa communities earlier this year. In February, well before the pandemic, Russo donated 30 iPads to Staten Island School, which is where he's from. I give my time because that's the only commodity I can give back. And I think that's such a awesome quote. I think that is time is the most precious, valuable commodity that you can give someone. That's something that you will never get back. You can lose a fortune and gain a fortune again, but once you lose time, it is gone until Jack invents time travel. Yeah, so I mean, they're just doing this fantastic charity events. They're streaming on Twitch. Great idea. It's fantastic. Their name is going to get them a lot of attention, and then their efforts will help a lot of communities. So awesome find, Jack. My lord, I want to play chess now. Okay, so that is playing chess for charity. RZA and Jizz of the Wu-Tang Clan reflect on the science of the game and life. Bang! All right, so that's going to do it for our articles. We have a question of the day. We did something a little bit different today, and what we're going to do is I'm actually going to ask Jack a question.
I can't believe that's this question.
And Jack, yeah, Jack, where can our listeners send their questions to?
At theboardstate@gmail.com. I can't do that neck thing right now because I'm just I have all the questions. We decided to go with this.
Okay. So the question comes from the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition. And it reads, why does Jack keep talking about and or praising Poland, Mr. V? So Jack, can you speak a little bit about your fascination with Poland?
Okay, so it's really two things. When I was first going into history, I really was into World War II, and a lot of that actually got me reading above my grade level. And so I delve straight into it, and I thought I knew as much as I knew about like the whole topic of World War II, and decided to go, okay, let's go further back into medieval eras and Rome and stuff like that. Then I realized there was this magical thing called the internet, and really a lot of the books I was reading was made during the Cold War, where American value false information than real history.
Wow.
So a lot of the books I was reading, I had to do in my brain like a huge shift from like a lot of the books that I read to like boost up my scores was fake and was incorrect. And it was a combination of factors that led to that. And so But one thing that helped me cope and realize like that, oh God, that's wrong, was Poland. So a lot of the books were saying, oh, I had like one page about Poland. Oh, they did this. They got invaded and they launched cavalry attacks and then they die. And then that's it. And then it goes keeps on moving like a movie. But as I was discovering more and more info about World War II and all these hidden stories and stuff, I realized a lot more stories, a lot of success from allies and stuff was because of Poles. So like for example,
Because of what? Sorry? Codes.
Polish.
Poles. Got it.
Okay. So like for example, the Enigma machine that was seen as like Germany's best cipher and able to protect against any like crackers from the Ally and French or British cipher crackers. It was actually cracked by Polish scientists and stuff like that. So because
Wait,
of
what?
that, yeah. So the Allies had the advantage and found out a lot of the German bioplans, but they decided to disregard that because they figure Poles or couldn't have cracked the German Enigma code. So a lot of the initial information, for example, Germans had less troops than them. They were not that well equipped. There wasn't a panzer army, or they weren't having hard times in Poland. Or they were having hard times in Poland because of that. They had to demobilize and stuff like that. They really disregard that, and because of that, it allowed Germany to rebuild for the next invasion, which was
Wow.
France. Another thing was that Polish was actually able to launch attacks. For example, the Polish Navy, there was a submarine that made it from Latvia. So it got it interned in Latvia and escaped there and avoid the German Navy and the Russian Navy because at the time Russia invaded Poland on the other side, so they was trying to kill anybody or capture anybody that would be a threat, including Polish military forces. So that Polish submarine with no equipment had to avoid the German Navy, the Russian Navy, and avoid being sunk by the British Navy because the British thought they were a German submarine.
Wow.
So the stories like that keep on popping up and keep on finding them, and I'm like, wait, that can't be real. Then I find another article saying that, and then another article saying that, and then and then I realized the reason why I was keep on saying it in my head, it couldn't be real, and that's my second point. Poland and all of the Eastern countries in general was occupied for about 80 years due to communists and the Soviet Union. They really didn't allow them to push out history. Like the Witcher wouldn't have been published, like Cyberpunk would have not been stuff. So a lot of those stuff that I realized of what the Polish actually did was getting more and more released recently because they couldn't be released back then because it's going up against the narrative that the state had for them. So I found it as the spiritual successor of what you do when you gain independence back.
Wow.
To be always fighting or remind yourself, yeah, we gain independence through violence. You want to do is set up a culture reminding of past, not just heroes, but of your culture. So that way it will not be forgotten like how it was. It really was in the West for 80 years. Most of the stereotypes proposed was very prevalent. So I really admire just that, not just the history of Poland, but also their gaming scene because of that. Because at most, before the fall of communism, they had arcades in Poland. But now they have one of the biggest companies to hit AAA gaming and about to release one of the most anticipated games in probably for this decade. So that combined with the history factor, I really put my admiration for. And yes, there is other countries like New Zealand, like Hawaii, that has stuff like that, and really needs to get shown off more. However, Poland was successful for us because of not just education wise, they putting gaming in there, but also the amount of game developers who's really pushing it.
Whew. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, so with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Jack, any parting words?
Yeah, Poland strong, be safe. Have
Yeah, Polish shot, be safe.
no, we actually may have some news coming up for a potential another project we've been doing. But yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe.